Hey there, Bahadir. All right, let's get this going. And sorry about all this delay. You're probably like, this guy keeps telling me he's gonna give me stuff, and then he doesn't give me stuff. And you're just like, this guy doesn't have it together. And yeah, I would, I totally get it. We just had a kind of a real pressing presentation to make to the investor that we're actually sending this video to. So I had to focus on making that before making this video. So even though we're not going to make the 10th, it's okay because this video is to be showed to that investor anyways, and we had he's happy with us now. So um, we'll get this video done when we get it done, but hopefully in the next few days we'll be able to get it done. So, and I'll be a lot more responsive and be able to answer any questions you have. I'll have a lot more freedom in my time. So, once again, sorry for I apologize for being out of contact and kind of delaying this, but the whole point is to get this investor to invest money, and we had to take care of some stuff for him. So, and now that we did that, this video is the next thing he wants to see. So, let's get into it. When we look at the so when it says the language everyone speaks, and then we go to the app showcase of chat, that's what we're going to be looking at here. What I wanted to do is I want it to be a shot of this screen, and I'd actually like this to be living within a Google Chrome browser. So when it shows this is within the browser, just so people know that it lives within the browser. Um, and so I don't have a graphic of that, but I know you can find them for free online pretty quickly. Um, so what I'd like it to be is it shows this screen first, and actually the chat right here won't be you won't be viewing it at first. It'll almost be like it wasn't like it's not here, right? So it'd be like it's not on the screen, and these two things would actually be slid over here, and they're two minimized chats as if they're talking to these people, and then it pops up. Whoops. And then it pops up on the screen. And I have here filled out the entire chat, but obviously this will come in one message at a time, and it'll say, "Good afternoon, can you help me?" And the way the images work, like for the contact image, um, I'll go down here. The image will follow along with the conversation. So when "good afternoon" pops up, his image, the image, not the name, the image will be centered along the message. And then when "can you help me" pops up, um, the image once again centers along that message. Also, the timestamp would be if "can you help me" wasn't here, right? If you had only said "good afternoon," um, it will show here, right? It'll show his picture there centered, and then the timestamp would then be directly underneath that one. And then when the next message comes in, right? So when he says, "Can you help me?" Can you help me? Then the picture will slide down, and then the timestamp will slide down. And the timestamp just shows until the end of a thread of one person talking. So then he says, "Good afternoon, can you help me?" And then the assistant, the administrator, who is running this screen right here, right? So I've named her Amy. Amy is in her admin screen here. She'll say, "Hello, Jacques. How can I help?" And right as she says, "How can I help?" We'll actually see "Hello, Jacques" pop up on the screen, and then we'll actually see her type. So we'll see, "Good afternoon, can you help me?" And then we'll see her type "Hello, Jacques," and it'll pop up here, "How can I help?" And then instead of it popping up here, we're gonna have this blue bubble, right? Right as she hits the send button, we're gonna have this bubble transfer, right? It would be like it's like she typed it in words, right? And then it turns into the blue bubble, and then it animates over to then pop up right here, right? And it would turn from blue to gray, um, and then it would translate. So as it's transitioning, as she hits send, it's like it moves over to this screen right here, which is the one that the guy Jacques would be looking at. And the blue bubble will animate to gray and animate to the new language, the new French language. And so it shows how can I help was translated instantly into comment puis-je aider, and if that's even the way you say it. And what we're going to show off here, right as you show that translate, which is really cool. You see, like, oh, the moment she says it, he sees it in his language. But the reason we have these plus signs is so you can see the original language if you need to, if it looks a little confusing, because the machine, our translation is great, but it's not perfect. So maybe you need to do a little research if something's confusing. So it shows that, and then he clicks the plus sign. It says, "How can I help?" And it just shows off, like, look, she said that, but this is what he's seeing, and he can always see what she says. And then he continues from there. He types this out, right? So this statement right here, he's typing it out in here. And when he types it out, and when she types it out, it's going to be the same size text, but it's going to be in black. And then when they hit send, right? Same thing with her. When he hits send, the blue then moves over to this chat, right? And it transfers into the gray, and then translates to English as it animates over. And then it says what he said in French. And it says, "Can you show me which form I need to fill out for my work visa?" Oh, whoops. I actually went a little too far here. So in this first scene, we're actually just going to say, "Good afternoon, can you help me?" And she says, "Hello, Jacques, how can I help?" And as she says, "Hello, Jacques, how can I help?" that message transfers from the send message into his screen, and it animates as it's traveling over to be the translation and the different color, right? And so we're gonna start out the scene zoomed out, right? So you can see the whole screen she's looking at, and then the chat pops up, and he says, "Good afternoon." Right as that pops up, we're gonna zoom into the screen, almost make it fill almost make it fill the video, but not entirely. Maybe we'll have it fill it about there. So when she sends her message, it kind of, instead of us, we're not going to like jump across this far, right? We're not going to have the message that she sends or that he sends jump across that much. It's really, it's almost as if the two chats were living well, actually, yeah, it's almost as if the two chats are living right next to each other. It's as if they were it's almost like they were like right here, right? There's going to be some like dead white space in between. Let's see. Let's do this. Right. So it'd be almost like it's wanting to do something. Hold on. All right. So it'd be almost as if there was like maybe a little more. It's got to travel some distance, right? Something like maybe that amount of distance. But when she says, "How can I help?" right? When she types that in, She types in, how can I help? And she types this in, and don't just make the emoji pop up. We don't need to have like that show up. That's very stupid. And we want it to be in black, right? So, right when she types that in, it then, when she hits send, right, it turns into this little bubble, this blue bubble. Turns into this bubble, right? So she hits send, and it turns into that bubble. And then we're going to be zoomed in maybe about something like that, where you can really only see her screen, her chat screen, and it's going to be on her admin window. I'm just trying to place these at a distance where it might be, so it will be living on her window as she does this. But like when it animates to like send to him, we're going to maybe be zoomed in about, almost all the way to it, right? So then it transfers over, and as it's transferring over, it's changing color to gray, and then transfers into, or translates into the language that he then sees, right? And then his screen is going to be almost entirely filled here, right? Just as we were seeing hers, we're not able to see both screens at the same time, right? It's like as it's sent, it shifts over, and that phrase flies over here and animates to change to the new language, and then he types in what he's saying, this phrase here, and then that, as he types that in and hits send, or as he's typing that in, we actually zoom out so we can see his screen, so we can see that he's got an admin screen as well, and he's on a desktop. And then as he's typing in this phrase, right, the pouvez-vous me montrer, that phrase, and that animates over in a very similar manner that hers did, right? So it kind of pops over here and shows up in the translated version. Can you show me which form I need to fill out for my work visa? Right, so that animates over. And to get all this back to where it was, both of these screens will be living on their panels. I just wanted to show you kind of like how close they might be. Maybe they're a little further apart, but there's going to be like maybe this window is here and this window is over here, and there's this much white space in between. I want to give it the effect where it shows the phrase traveling over to his screen, and from his screen over to her screen. But once again, at first, the screen is zoomed out so you can see your whole admin panel. He says good afternoon. That window pops up and it slides over these two as this takes the new space here. And then we zoom into it, and we can see the second message come in as after we're like, or as we're like zoomed in. You can see the second message pop up. And then you see her message, hello, Jacques, and you can actually see her type it down here, and it pops up here, how can I help? And instead of it popping up here, that's when we then travel with that message over to his message, over to his screen. And we don't want any of this stuff here at first, as the message is traveling. We don't want to really see that. We just kind of want it to be a white background so people don't really know what's going on. Then you see it pop up in his feed, that message she sent, and then he clicks on the plus sign, and it shows the original message, just so people know that the original message is hidden within there whenever you need. And then and we'll just leave that open, so it would be like, once he clicks that plus sign, it would be as if we'll just leave that here like that, right? And everything here on down would be shifted down, right? So that would shift down just to accommodate space. So sorry. and then he types in this phrase, right? And we don't need to see it typed. It's not like we need to see it real time. It's just like he starts to type the first few bits, and like it kind of fades, and you can see that he's typed out that whole phrase. And right as he clicks send, then that transfers back over to her screen. And it says, can you show me which form I need to fill out for my work visa? And each time we want to be, really zoomed into these windows. But I did want to say, when he starts to type this phrase, pouvez-vous, we'll just kind of zoom out so you can see that he has a dashboard as well. And then as he hits send, or as the phrase finishes, we zoom in and then he clicks send, and then you see that animation of it flying back over to her screen, and you see the translation, and then you see the next thing that he says pop up, right? And just like how a chat works, everything is going to be pushed out of the way as it pops up, right? So it's going to continue to pop up in a way where I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, but just to make sure that we're being clear here, let's do this, right? So as the things are popping up, right, the stuff is scrolling up here, right? So as each phrase comes in, it moves other things out of the way. So his phrase comes over and is translated in that animation, and then his next phrase, Michael told me which one, but I can't remember. And then we have a slight pause, and then the smiley face comes in upside down. So it's kind of like he's saying, I don't know, and then she responds, haha, sure thing, you'll need to fill out. And we're going to stay on this English window now, so we don't have to keep jumping back and forth. People get the process, they understand it translates instantly, and we're going to stay in English so they can follow along. So when it comes over from his language, we see it here in English, we're just going to keep this all in English from here on down. Can you show me which form I need to fill out for my work visa? Michael told me which one, but I can't remember. Upside down smiley face. And once again, these pictures are moving along with each message as they come in, right? So this one comes in, it's here. Then this one comes in, it's here. This one comes in, then it's here. The timestamp 2 is underneath this one. Then it's underneath this one. Then it's underneath this one. And then she responds, haha, sure thing, you will need to fill out an I-765. Here you go. And as she says, here you go, right? As here you go is popping up on screen, we're going to zoom out. And she's going to she's actually going to grab one of these forms, and she's going to bring it down into the chat and drop it in, right? As she hovers it over here, she lets go, and it adds into the chat, right? So it then adds into the chat as this form. Even though this looks a little different, the I-765 she's going to grab from this screen, and she's going to drop it into the chat, and it's going to show up here. And what we're going to do is she's going to grab that, to make the timing correct. Right, she's going to say, haha, sure thing. And then as she says this phrase, the screen zooms out, right? And as she types, here you go, and it pops up here, it then zooms into the search right about, let's say, right about let's have it zoom in maybe about let's make it clean, something like that, right? And as she then types the letter I, right, and this will be in black, not gray. Gray is like the default, right? But once you start typing it, it turns into black. As she types I, then it's going to sort, and it's only going to show the I documents in alphabetical order, right? So here's the I documents, and I've included those, right? So by default, it's going to show first alphabetical ones. As she types in I, it automatically sorts and shows the I documents, like instantly. And then right as she types in -7, right, then only the I-7 forms pop up, and that'll be this one, right? So right as she types I, all of the computer's freezing a little bit. Right as she give it a second here. It's kind of taxing on the computer, I think, to do a screen recording. And okay, all right, let go. I can't. It's being, I don't know what's going on. Okay, that was weird. So, all right. So, no, what's going on? All right. So yeah, and this program here is kind of new. It's called Framer. So there's a little bug. It's actually caused me a little bit of frustration. I've been designing this, but regardless, it's a great program. So so the forms here show up, you know, as this list, and then the moment she types in I, it then turns into this list, and then when she types I-7, right? As she types I-7, it just turns into this list. And so you can see the I-765 would be right there. So it would be like right here, it'd be in the third slot. So she would grab it and then drag it into the window, right? And we're going to be zoomed in. So right as she's typing in the I-7, we want it maybe, I think, yeah, we would want it like zoomed in about, like I said here, right as she's starting to type in, you can see the, right as she types in I, they shift, then 7, they shift. And then as she's grabbing the form to drop, it zooms back out, and then you see her drop it into the window, right? And then as she drops it in the window, it turns into this view. Oh, and I wanted to show you as she grabs it. So as she grabs it, right, instead of it saying large like that, it's going to be this one, and I've included that. It'd be like just a small one. And so she would drag it and drop it into the window. And it won't just drop like that. It would drop in there like it was in the thread, and it turns into that view. And then right as it's dropped into into the chat, right? We have a fade transition into seeing his chat, right? So you can see it fade transition. You can see everything's been translated, and then he taps on it, and or he says merci, and then he taps on it, and it opens up the form in the desktop browser, right? And so we don't need to show, after we've shown that this one is in the, it lives within in like Google Chrome. We don't need to show any of the other screens, including this one, that it's in the browser. Once they've seen, like in the initial opening scene of this, that it's in the browser, we can just drop the Google Chrome browser and just focus entirely on the window. So you'll see this screen, and it will. This is the form, right? So he tapped on the form that she gave him. He tapped on it, and it opened this up, right? And you can see the chat here is now minimized. And this would actually be blank. All of this will be here, but the form itself won't be filled out at all. But I wanted to fill it out with what would be there, and you could just mask over it with like a white box and then animate those away. So you see him click on it, and then that X shows up. And then you see him click on the drop-down menu, and I've included the graphics for this. You click on the drop-down menu, and these are like auto-completes, and so then he clicks on his name. And when he hovers on it, it's this color, which, so like he hovers and it turns to that color, hovers on that, it turns to that color. And I've included that. If you need to know what that color is, if that just makes it easier on you, it is this one right here. It's D4E5F2. He clicks on his name, and it auto-fills his name in here as well as the address. So we're going to stay zoomed out in this view, so you can see him click that, and then it autofills that, autofills that. And then we're going to have an animation where this right here, this screen, is going to like start to shrink as if it's turning into a mobile screen, right? We're going to animate from this. It's kind of like a fade animation, and then it turns into this. So it shows you that he started on the desktop, and then he's finishing on his mobile device. We could actually, let's see, how could I do that? I know. I'll have to make a new screen. So I just thought of this. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna turn these into like mobile views, right? So I'm gonna make it so these turn into like mobile views, and we're going to basically have it animate from the big screen into the mobile view of this exact screen. And then once we're on this screen, we're going to fade it, and we're going to, let's see, we're going to fade it into that one. But to make it a little more clear here, move this over. I'm going to duplicate this screen here. All right, so instead of it having all of this information on here, we would have, so it's basically going to turn from that into this, right? And I'll have to obviously make this screen what it actually will look like, but these, it will animate from the desktop version into the mobile version. And the chat window will not live here, right? That would actually, they'd have to go back to the chat, so this will disappear. But so it will animate. You'll see the whole window itself kind of like collapse, and it'll collapse into this, and it'll be the mobile version of the form. And I'll design that and give that to you. And then once we're in that mobile version of the form, it will then like fade animate into this, so you can show that it's like completed. You can see it's completed, and then the guy will then tap on this, and it will open the screen to then sign it, and then you'll see his signature. His name's Jacques Bernard. You can do whatever you'd like with that, but like a cursive signature, you see it animate on screen. Then he clicks termine, which means done. It collapses like this. So what I want it to do is I want, when he taps on this square animates into this square. So it goes from this size to this size, and these black bars fade in. And then when he hits this then animates down into this, and the signature that was big here is small enough to be seen here. The date of the signature will automatically pop up because he just signed it. Then he'll click on the telephone number drop down, and then he'll select the number that he wants. Let's make it this one. Why not make it the second one? Make it that one. All right. He selects that number, and same thing with these in the drop down. The hover state is going to be that color, so it hovers over and it turns to that blue. He selects that, clicks there, then he clicks this button, which means submit. And when he clicks that, this like an animation of like a circle, of like a white circle, like it's loading or sending, pops up very quickly, and then it shows this check mark instead of the send, right? And so the circles circle, and then the circle stops and uh, goes from like a so like you see the white line circling like it's a loading, and then a plain white circle enlarges from like infinitely small basically to the size of the icon, and it would be just a white circle, and then the green check mark will then animate dink, like it's done. And right after that is done, um, we will then see a screen like you would see on an iPhone. Let me go here. So we're gonna see an iPhone screen of a guy's home, and this would be the lawyer Michael, right? So we have Amy, the assistant that Jock just talked to, and then this phone will be Michael's. And I'd like it to have like one text message here that says something about like, "Hey Michael, it was great to see you Saturday," or something like that. And then right below that pops up the notification of Fluent, and it shows Jacques Bernard. Jacques Bernard finished. I'll like write out the words here, but Jacques Bernard just completed Form I-765, and then he's gonna swipe on it like you would in an iPhone. He's gonna swipe on it and hit View. And maybe I'll make a animation of the notifications in case you don't have an iPhone. You need to kind of see what it looks like. Yeah, but he'll swipe on it, tap View, and then when he taps View to like view that form, like when he gets that notification on his phone, it will then take him to a chat on his phone, and instead of it showing the whole chat here, I just made it that way. It would actually just be it would show probably about like that, right? So it shows that the completed form is done, and he would then tap View, and then when he taps View, he sees the PDF of the form completed, and he like zooms in, looks at the signature, and then he types in here, or you just see the message pop up, right? So you then see the message pop up. Looks great, Jock. And that is the end of the showcase for that. So to wrap things up here, and I'm sure you'll need some further explanation because this is a very long sequence of things. It starts out where this pops up here. The guy says, "Good afternoon, can you help me?" And she responds, "How can I help?" And it shows up over here. And you see the translation, and that's when we then go back to where it says "whoa," and then whatever you say, Fluent AI translates on the fly. But we're not stopping there. That's when we come back to it, and so app showcase a form translation. That's when we come back to it, and we see him type that in, and then that then animates over here, and then we stay within English, and then you see her drag and drop the form in. He then taps on the form, he taps on the form, you see him like tap on it or click on it. It opens the form. He fills it in a little bit. You see him click the X, autofill, it fills in the address, and then it then animates to the mobile view, and then fade animates to here. Taps on the signature, that box animates to that size, he signs it, done. It then animates back, you see the signature, data signature automatically pops up because the computer knows that. He selects the telephone number, he then clicks this button, it does the animation of the circle and then the check mark coming up, and then the notification pops up onto the iPhone home screen, like right underneath the text, that shows that this is Michael's phone, like, great to see you last night, Michael. Then the notification for the Fluent Legal will pop up, and I have included what the, let's see, I've included actually the logo that we're going to use. I don't know why I don't see it. No. Anyways, that notification pops up, and then he slides and taps view, and then when he taps view, it then takes him to the chat, right? And it will be right here, and then for whatever reason this check mark is big. I don't know why. As I said, this is kind of a new program. It would actually look like this. Then he taps on View PDF, and when he does that, it takes him to a screen where he looks at a PDF of the original form, which I will send to you. And he kind of like zooms in and looks at it, and you can see it. He can see it's all filled out. I'll actually have to send that to you here in a little bit. I forgot to make that. There's so many little details to this. So I'll have to like send that to you. I'll probably actually even just make the animation myself, because I know what I want to see in terms of like what. So don't worry about doing the PDF animation. I'll do that, but just know that you'll have a PDF animation clip on there of him looking at it. And then it collapses, like he closes that out, and then you see looks great Jacques pop up into the chat, and then we go back to the rest of the video, where that's the showcase of the form translation, and then we go back into the video. All right, so that's everything you need for the app showcases. I'm still, I need to get the graphic made. I'm looking for a guy to hire for that. So don't worry about that. We just know that's a placeholder. And then I'll comment on the animations you've done for the words. But this is for the app showcase animation. So I know it's a lot of different steps in here, so I'm sure you'll have questions. But hopefully this was as clear as it could be. And I will make the mobile version for this so that we can then have that. And yep, there we go. All right, thank you.